Hi, it's Joy, and today you're watching Star Wars Tales of the Jedi, Season 1, Episode 3, Choices. Let's go.
You've been studying that tablet for a long time. Are the answers you need over Master Katri's death in that file?
No. As members of the Council, we cannot involve ourselves in local political skirmishes unless requested by the Jedi High Council or Senate.
Yeah.
My friend, your devotion to rules is sometimes inspiring and sometimes maddening.
I mean, the Jedi's rigid approach to everything is definitely something that if you vaguely start to question, you almost can't tell anyone you're questioning the Jedi's way of doing things because they'll look so down on you and they'll like treat you differently. So that kind of means you just isolate and you think to yourself, I don't know if the Jedi are doing things right, and then you just end up going astray. So their own, I maintain the Jedi, as we know them at this point in their era, this era, the end of their the end of their golden age or whatever you want to call it. This is them where they are their own worst enemy. I mean, I do think the Jedi Council should be asking the sort of questions Dooku is asking.
And she paid for it with her life.
This seems like a
Senator,
practice
we've
performance
taken
to me.
enough of your time. If you can show us where Master Katri's
And I do hate to
body
take
is.
Dooku's side in anything.
By the time we arrived, it was too late to save Master Katri.
That
Let us be
could
on our
explain
way.
how he survived. She kept him alive and gave her life.
Would you want Katri to leave without finding out what happened to you?
I would want her to follow protocol.
I mean, I think they've potentially visiting the site isn't the worst idea, but in general they should contact the High Council with this information and see what they want them to do. Is the episode called Choices? Because every day the choices you make could lead you further and further towards the dark side.
And before she could clear the area, they descended upon her.
What would he have to gain from killing her?
If Master Katri were fired upon here, why are there no blast marks on your ship? No damage?
Judging from your description, someone fired from the direction of the ship.
For a Jedi to that attack is from someone one would trust, like you.
Oof.
I will have the truth.
Dooku!
He does go a little dark with his desire for truth.
The guards killed her!
Jesus! Jesus Christ! I just feel like if you kill two more Jedi, you've already got a problem you're not going to be able to explain.
You and all of the Senate puppets will see a reckoning!
Are these early separatists? How many people have you were trying to kill them? You killed the senator. Did you think no one would ever fight back?
We are part of a group who learned Larrick was using his Senate seat to become rich at the expense of our people and planet.
No. Another instance where the Republic is not as good as it should be. It's corrupt. Just murdering everyone is not the
He
answer.
was willing to bleed Rack's comfortable residence on faraway
I mean, I
coasts.
suppose the fact that in two different planets they've
So
resorted to
you
violence
lured
to
Larrick
resolve it.
here. However, if you killed Katri,
Force him to put forth our own agenda at the next Senate hearing meeting.
Definitely shows you, I think, that the people didn't. There's no way for them to take their grievances, and maybe that's partly because it's off-world. It's hard for an ordinary person to be like, I'm just going to go to the Senate in Coruscant and petition them, because how the hell are you going to get there? You know, it's not even like you can just pack some supplies and go on a long walk or whatever. It definitely shows you that one of the flaws of the Republic is it only works as long as all of the senators are people like Padme, people who truly believe and care. The minute you get someone who's corrupt, there is no way for their people to get word out, it would seem, and to try and like petition the Senate to do something about it.
Jedi are lapdogs of the Senate. Their bidding always comes first. It's evident throughout the galaxy. Jedi claim peace, but mostly keep law and order for the rich.
It's kind of true. And another dent
Katri
towards
was a
Dooku.
Jedi. She would have listened.
She would have, though. Well, this is the second time he's been in this kind of situation, and this time the Jedi have specifically been outed as not enough. Though becoming who he becomes, I don't think makes much
your
good.
ideology Make sure your people don't lose heart and evolve, Samash. It is the only way you truly have victory. I say that for all of us.
Oh, he is one tiny push from jumping over that ledge.
Now let me ask you one thing.
Oof.
Proceed.
Do you think the Jedi will truly keep peace if they continue to take everything the Senate says as law?
Luckily, we are guided by our council and not by politics, nor ego.
It's easy to dismiss it as ego. He's funny. It's so funny because he is raising points that are valid. His methods, kind of like you said about the guy, his methods aren't great necessarily. You know, if he tries to take this to the council, tries to say, look, the fact that we just say yes Senate, no Senate, that's not right. That isn't how it should work. Although I also think a all-powerful organization like the Jedi just doing whatever the hell they want, roaming free, is also kind of dangerous. But you know, like there's a lot of ethical questions to be raised on all sides here. It's so interesting because as a viewer, you can like understand Dooku's point of view, but then I'm just trying to see where he is now and think about where he goes and be like, how get there? Like, get away from being the Jedi, sure. Oh, it's just occurred to me that this is like so far it's just Dooku and Ahsoka, and I think that's all it stays in this season. Like, I haven't read up anything about what happens. I just feel like I saw somewhere that it was about Dooku and Ahsoka, and they are both Jedi who leave, aren't they? But they are two Jedi who, for similar reasons, leave the Jedi Order, but they are total opposites of each other. One is everything good, and one is everything not. Interesting. He is questioning.
I stuck to the mission. You decided to interfere
Fuck.
in a way that led to a senator's death.
What would have
I
happened if
will
he'd
speak
been
to the
given the
council on your
seat?
behalf.
If you have doubts, raise them in the council, Dooku. Ask for a meeting. You're a significant enough figure. I'm sure that they would listen to you, even if they then use it as opportunity to tell you, oh, don't be silly, stop thinking like that. We know everything. Like, go to them, raise your point with them. Okay, I feel like in a lot of ways, the kind of conclusions from this episode are very similar to the conclusions from the previous episode. We are watching Dooku lose faith in the Jedi Order, lose faith in the Republic, and start to look for another way of doing things. But what we see is a lot of the time he takes a very dark approach to this. His instincts are for finding answers is often intimidation, violence, and threats rather than anything else. It's not like he wants the Jedi to be better. He kind of does, but his view of that is actually not better than what they are in a lot of ways. What would have happened if he'd been made the master here? If he'd just done this mission like a good little boy and they'd picked him over Mace for, I don't know, what would have happened? Would he have raised his concerns in the council and would he have felt like they'd listened to him? Or is every single Jedi that becomes a Sith, is it literally just, if they'd just been given that council seat, everything would be okay? It is interesting, like I said, because so many of his points that he's making and his concerns are valid. And as you watch the episode, you're like, yeah, they have a point. The Jedi can't just do whatever the Senate says, when the Senate is as corrupt as it clearly is. But at the same time, you can see why the Jedi have ended up in this position, because the Jedi having such power that makes them more powerful basically than anybody, any race in the galaxy, any people in the galaxy. They're almost like a sort of private army or whatever. It'd be so easy to be scared of them. If the Jedi were just walking around imposing their will on other planets, it would seem pretty dodgy. Whereas at least if they are working through the Senate, they have a diplomatic mantle behind them. Obviously, in reality, the Senate's not a great democracy as it could be. So you kind of can understand why they are with them, but I think it shouldn't be quite as unquestioning as it is, and as it is ultimately the downfall. And I wonder how much. I mean, I don't know at what point, and maybe we're going to find out in the next 3 episodes. I don't know at what point Dooku and Palpatine join up. I don't know how far through his plan Palpatine was, but I can only think that Dooku, when he becomes his apprentice and when they are together, his knowledge of the Jedi and their weaknesses and their flaws from having been inside the organization would definitely be one of the reasons that Palpatine is able to exploit those weaknesses as powerfully and masterfully as he does. And Dooku obviously does not get to reap any of the benefits of that. So this is another very interesting episode. The Republic is so deeply flawed, but it needed change, just not the change that it got. And it's kind of scary because in a lot of ways the societies we live in, I'm mainly talking about the UK and the US because those are the two countries that I know the most about. We live in deeply flawed societies that need systemic change, and I really feel like we are teetering towards the empire and not towards the better version of change, and that terrifies me. So yes, thank you so much for watching.